to Ask the Author, a show about inspiring stories and conversations by creatives and all forms of art, music, movies, visual art, authors, creative writing, poetry, dance, culinary art, among others. Brought to you by the multi-award-winning author, life coach, and poet, Richard Mugisha.
Irene, you talked about family, and when I read something in your book, you talked about family trade-offs. Yeah, those trade-offs, and these are what construct your sense of purpose. So what I hear you say, or heard you say, is in your free time you go back to family, and you have your you time. And being a journalist and being a CEO, being a leader, you are creative. Yeah, first. Yeah, before even you became, I guess, who you are now as the CEO, the entrepreneur, or leader. So that balance is very good for creatives, because the show is about creatives. As the author, we talk about creatives from that space where you find your moment, where you find your points of self-reflection and self discovery as well, for you to be able to think through ideas, distill them, crystallize them, and anchor them before you can incubate them. Because as you mentioned, you're going to a place of innovation, place of thought, so to speak, where you get, actually, I would say, clarity. Yeah, clarity in the things that you want to do. So with family, how do you strike that balance, Irene? Because it looks like it's a very delicate balance.
It's very delicate, and if you're not very intentional as well, you can lose it. So you said something beautiful, the trade-off. Trade-off is part of the chapter 4 of the book, which talks to experience. And we know that experience is the best practical thing in leadership. When you have people trying to either run an advert to recruit, the first thing they say is experience. We want experience of 3 years, we want experience of 4 years or 5 years. This is not accidental. It's really that the person who wants to recruit you, they want to tap into the experience that has molded your leadership into what you are in
your
the different
curve.
categories.
Yeah.
Yes. So the trade-off of chapter 4, I speak more intentionally to, you need to trade off other things. When you have gone through all the different stages of your life, you need now to say, this is what is priority. And sometimes we fail to define the priority. And so to me, it was a stage of, I had reached my apex. I'm having a very beautiful job, paying me so well, staying in 5-star hotels, but I was missing one thing. I was missing me, my family, and something that brings out the best in me. So my productivity was very good, but that productivity has to be catalyzed with the things you love most.
Wow.
As a family person, the productivity for me to be more productive, I needed to have family. Every moment I wanted to do something good.
Irene, sorry to interject, but I hear you say exactly, it is being intentional and also being able to frame your personal constitution. Personal constitution is defining your values. Yeah, I can't stand for this, because you said in your book that, I rephrase this, you said we are vessels on the sea.
Yes.
And if you've not defined your intentions, you're going to be blown away everywhere, and you'll end up capsizing. So that for me is a big thing. If you're earning, at the end of the day, people get the big paycheck, but they feel empty. Yeah, they feel unfulfilled because there's something missing. Yeah, in the things that they defined, or even they never defined. Yeah, because they are being blown away by the wind. So that is very important. Sometimes it's not just about the paycheck or the dollars. Yeah, at the end of the day, you can have everything, but you feel empty, purposeless, and you're not feeling that place that you have done it, and you're also impacting other people. Moving on,
Before we move on, let me just give that story of trade-off.
Yeah.
So the trade-off to me that I had to share was, again, a beautiful job. I may mention it. It was really working for CNBC, heading a whole bureau that was taking on Rwanda and Uganda, but left behind beautiful children, very young, at a tender age of almost 4 and 5 years to 6. And so you're in these different countries, and every evening you retire to a hotel, but to retire to just a desk looking at you and probably sending an email or making a call. And I didn't find it very satisfactory, of course, after some months.
Something
so
missing.
I needed to do that trade-off. It had to be my family against the job that I wanted to do. But at the same time, before you do the trade-off, you need also to have thoroughly thought through what next. Yeah? Because the job could be your bread earner. So don't just do the trade-off. The trade-off should be calculated. But I knew I had something else that I could do, and so I did a trade-off. And to me, being in the space for my children at that age to date is the biggest gift I've done for myself.
Wow.
Because then I was able to nurture them.
That is irreplaceable. It is irreplaceable.
Yeah.
Irreplaceable. Family is everything. Family is everything. Yeah, it's very valuable, very important, very, very potent, very, very purposeful, very, very instrumental within the process of the things we do, and that we crystallize it within us, the author. The story is that we tell the people a valuable masterpiece, key decision all the time. I cannot overemphasize it. Very, 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 very important. When we look, there's a phrase that just fired my neurons. When you're talking about follow your bliss. Can you unpack it for us and the audience? Why follow your bliss?
So follow your bliss is, we all have beautiful things that we allow ourselves to be more natural. That's the best way I can put it. And so when you follow your bliss, you're in position to undertake a journey that is more simpler and not difficult. Because, Richard, you wake up and I don't think what you're doing is what you studied. Yeah?
Yes, mostly.
Yeah.
Mostly, but sometimes, yes, I get the point.
So, and so we talk about the sixth instinct, but sometimes it's just something that is telling you that that's not where you need to be.
Yes.
You need to be here. So I grew up probably thinking I'm going to be a teacher, I'm going to be a lawyer, I'm going to be a doctor. But along the journey, the interests change.
Yes.
So it's very important that you follow your interests. I've seen doctors who have become communicationists.
Yes.
I've been doctors who have gone into interior design.
Yes.
And they're doing so well. So following your bliss is really being able to know that what is that drives my passion. We talked about passion.
Preach.
Yeah? The passion.
Preach it.
You
preach
can
it.
never go wrong when you drive your
That
passion.
is your essence of being.
Never.
Wow.
So it's that passion that has to be calculated in your day-to-day activities, in your day-to-day conversations, in the people you meet, in the networks you go for. It really encompasses everything.
That's the spark. That's the spark that catalyzes the
Keeps
fireworks. I say the spark that catalyzes your fireworks as a human being. Because once you out, and I think for you, when you say planted blossom where I'm planted, how is that flower going to blossom? How is it going to bud? How is it going to grow? How is it going to reflect that true maximum essence of beauty?
You have to take care of it.
Yes, you have to water it, you have to nurture it, you have to feed it. So that you get the beautiful soil. You have to fertilize it every day by the books you read, the friends you make, the intentions you make, the law of association. Something I learned about recently, you're on an average of the people you are around. We call them contagions. The moment you are around 5 excellent thinkers, naturally you will be. And I'll give you context. It is said the fastest record under relay is faster than Usain Bolt at the 100 meters. Usain Bolt has done 9.5 seconds sprint, but the relay is still held by the Jamaican sprinters, and the record is, I think, 4 or 35 lower, because it's the power of the collective. We are faster together than faster when you're an individual. So for me, that was a spark and an explosive spark in my mind. Wow. Service above self, chapter number 2, the CEO in you. We've seen great leaders world over, the Gandhis, the Mandelas, any leader you'll see. I talked about Mother Teresa earlier. In any space where they've been, it's always service. And you said in your book that talk about any leader who has influence, who has impact, who has a legacy, and you will show them service above self. Can you amplify that for us a bit more?
A service above self is really doing things that you're even not comfortable with. Yeah? Is being able to find places and areas where you add value. Service above self is using your own oneness to ensure that you're doing things that others will be able to know that if it was not Irene, I don't think this would have happened.
Wow.
And in that chapter, I speak more to mothers, because mothers do the service above self without knowing.
Wow. Instinctively.
Yeah. Or even the wives.
Yeah.
The wives are there to nurture their children, their husbands, to take care of their in-laws, to take care of every other community obligation that will come their way. But if I speak to mothers, is a mother will selflessly do something without thinking straight most times. Is I'll find a child on the street and I want to go and pick that child, clothe them, give them something to eat. And so service above self, when you come to the corporate world, is, are you working in an exceptional way, leading by example? You leave the titleness on the side and work to help even your own messenger that walks in every morning to ensure that your office is clean. Have you found out to know if they go back home and they have food? Have you found out that, even your own technical team that probably support you with all the documents that you need do not have challenges that stop them from what they're supposed to do right? So service above self is one, having the integrity in you, is being able to do things that do not compromise your values. You mentioned about Mother Teresa, for her to leave the place of worship and to look out for the needy.
She left her home, Macedonia, and goes into the convent in India, a foreign country.
Do that. The recent late Pope, Pope Francis, of what he's been able to do. And those are just a few examples. We have our own people here. The First Lady has done so much when it comes to service above self, ensuring that all these places where we have children of the needy, that they put more intentional interests in them, that they have support for those places. So service above self also starts within you, that you're able to speak to yourself and say, if I found I have a neighbor who does not have salt, what else can I do for that neighbor to have salt? And it's not about handouts. It's about creating an activity that can allow all of them to be able to benefit.
Instead of giving them fish, teaching them how to fish, so that they will impact others. Wow, I like that. There's a book by Robin Sharma called The Leader Who Had No Title. Powerful book. He mentioned that. He says anything you will do within the construct of being the best that you can be is being able to do selflessly, over and above, beyond expectations. So that people, you're not doing it for people. You're doing it that when you're not there, they will notice that, hey, wait a minute, this person has left.
What you have you shared it with the community?
The community, yes.
I'm a mother to 3 children, but I take care of about almost, I think, 15 children.
Wow.
And 10 of these go
Wow.
to school.
Wow.
And so the little I get from my paycheck, I need to pay school fees for all those children.
Wow.
And I have those that are at university.
Wow.
I have those that are at primary.
Wow.
I have nurtured through the people even who help. You see,
Wow.
most times we look the way we look and you forget that you have someone who is actually supporting you at home. The support channels of the people we call maids, I call them managers at home because they manage my home. How do you support them to also grow? Yeah? So I found myself taking care of either their children, taking them to school, or their sisters, taking them back to school. And to me, that is one way of you need to serve above what anyone would think, because they could categorize you as a boss, but beyond the boss, you become their mother.
Yeah.
So beyond the boss, you become the person giving them a light to see that there's life beyond just being what they're doing.
Wow.
So yeah, service above self is very, very good.
Wow. Ooh, what an honor. What an honor. Our audience. Hey, the head of state, His Excellency, the President of Uganda.
I didn't see that coming. Yeah.
Yes?
Yes, please.
Wrote your forward for your book. Wow. How did that make you feel? First of all, how? I don't know. I even don't know how to ask this question. But I mean, he wrote your forward in your book. Hey. Would you care to tell us about that?
Wow. It's very unusual, first of all. No, it's not really unusual, but also to me it was very humbling.
Wow.
Very, very humbling. One, I was given an opportunity to serve my country through him, serving the president of this country for 8 years and serving the country as well. And so as a handler to the president, there's so much of resource you learn or you achieve. And so to me, being a handler and being able to be humbled to the extreme of him accepting to give me a forward for this book was something that I can never take for granted, was something that I continuously to say that, in this life, it is about what you do that will speak for you.
Wow. Can you repeat that for emphasis?
In this life,
that's a nugget.
About what
let me hold.
do.
Let me even put it in my pocket so that I don't forget. I'm putting here.
In anyone's life, it's about what you do that will speak for you.
Wow.
And what am I saying? The president is a president of this country. He's the president of 45 million Ugandans. He's a president who governs cabinet of how many ministers and members of parliament. And as such, as a handler, I'm just a portion of every other person in this country. But it's probably the distinctive of the work I was doing that allowed him to give.
Right. Your forward. Wow.
Now, again, because as one of the handlers close in the private office, it is how I was able to navigate myself in executing the job that I was given. One, through the administrative work, but two, through being able to do the itinerary of his day-to-day activities. And so you see, as a president, it's just like you, Richard, when you're in your office, you have handlers. So that's the same structure.
Do I?
It may be at another...
I don't have handlers.
No.
When I grow up
When you
one day.
grow up. Yes.
But I understand the frame,
yes.
the context, yeah.
Even as a father, let me put it in
Oh,
that
as a
way,
father,
because
yes.
as a president, he's a father. He's a father to me, to you, and everyone else.
Yeah, true.
And as a father would look out for the interest of the children. And as a father, you are able to father even so many other people, even those that you have not been able to interface with. And so I was among the lucky ones that I was able to interface with the father of this nation, and who is the president. And in his grooming, I was able to do things that probably added value to the work of executing this country. the Presidential CEO Forum is one of those initiatives by the president that he has assigned me to be able to champion.
Wow.
And as such, I'm being a catalyst of creating ease of doing business on behalf of the president.
Wow.
And so again, like I said, you need to be somewhere and do things that will speak for you. If he's going for a meeting,
That
do I
golden
have a brief?
nugget.
Do I have a brief for him ready?
Do things that will speak
Speak
for you.
And you don't need to be
Let your
antivirus.
actions tell the story.
Really, to the head of state, it was a humbling gesture.
Wow.
And when you read his foreword, he speaks to the knowledge of being able to have more of us write what we have gone through. And I remember not only just the foreword, he was able to honor the launch of this book.
Wow.
And it is so as inspiring. And in one of his message that he said was, Irene being a person that thirsts for knowledge. So in life, we need to thirst for knowledge. And I've never thought about it that, I can be there and I'm really thirst for knowledge. So again, it's what you do, Do you create time to read? Do you create time to do something different? Do you create time to develop a new initiative? Do you create time to be productive? And so, it is going back to the same one that you picked as a nugget. You do things that will speak for you.
Wow.
In the Bible, it's about I've forgotten the name, the one who went through the ventilator to speak on behalf, So there are always those people that will be in that room to speak for you, but because of what you've been able to do, because of what they've seen that you have championed, and so for me, I'm one of those that was blessed to have his
What an honor. Do you hear from your writers? I mean, from your audience, your people who've read the book? What do they say about your work? Are they giving you feedback?
Wow, these have been many, Richard, quite many. I get inspired each and every single day. I get inspired. One of the humbling words is when someone gets to meet you and says, Irene, your book allowed me to act.
Take action.
So to take action.
Because I see it as a CTA, a call to action. It's a book of calling to action. And
so that is one that motivates. When I wrote this book, Richard, I didn't write because I wanted to sell it. No, to get income from it. It had nothing to do with return on investment. I was just pouring out my own nuggets and life experience so that people can relate. And God has done it.
This is one of the gems that came out of the COVID experience, as you mentioned.
And so people are relating to this book. It's a book that has done overseas. I have Toronto University 22 professors who are studying this book to become one of their study,
Wow.
So it's that
curriculum
at 22 professors,
22.
international, not Ugandans.
What?
22 studying this simple book. And so that they can have it as a study book.
It goes back to my nugget. Can you say it again? Do that nugget.
Do things that will allow people to speak for you on your behalf.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and how all this started, a Ugandan who is at the Toronto University, one of his theses, he said, I'm going to just have this book as one of my dissertation.
Wow.
And so it took him almost a month or so to just pitch for it.
Wow.
But when God has said yes.
Yes, who can say no? Wow.
So it's here making its own intentionality across the borders.
Yes.
And to me is, like I've mentioned, what people say about it is they get to know the real Irene from the pages of this book.
Yes.
I am not artificial. I'm just born like every other person in this room, like that gentleman, this gentleman, born of a mother or a woman, and brought into this world to do something that you would want to do, but also to demystify the perception. Because I came out from the media world, being on TV allowed people to see you differently.
That's coming to that.
Yeah. So, yes, there's so much really. I could say on and on, but it is positive. That's
from the media world, people knew you way back as a celebrity. The Irene we see on TV, UBC TV, your WBS TV in the past. So you're always media. When you're media, people see a different
With different personality.
image, personality.
They
I mean,
actually brand you.
they label.
Yeah.
The right word I was going to say, they label you. Yeah, that's okay. The way you talk, the way you act. So, and people perceive. We say as marketers, perception is reality. As people perceive you, they will label you as such, and the like. But moving on. Who's your favorite writer, Ugandan or international?
Wow. International, I have plenty, but I've been a scholar of John C. Maxwell, and so
Wow.
I enjoy all his books. And,
Amazing leadership,
of course,
transformational
that
coach.
goes,
He's a
yes,
pastor.
everything.
Not many people know him as such. He is. Yeah.
But he is.
Wow.
And so then Ugandan. My former boss is an author, and I believe that could have been one of the spark, Rosemary Senabulia. And so she wrote a book, The Rise. And I know we have so many Ugandans. We have Richard here, who's an author. I have Barbara Katenda and many others. So I don't want to say this is a particular writer. But I want to speak to one person that is sowing the mustard seed. Yeah? And that is the president of this country. That book is almost like a blueprint of what can allow someone be a leader of influence, but through stages of struggle to stages of prominence and stages of being able to influence. So it's a book I've loved, and I believe it's also a footprint for this country.
Wow.
Yeah.
What are the books you're reading currently? Book or books?
Still again, John C. Maxwell. There's still 16 invaluable laws of communication. So that's what I'm reading right now. But also, I've started a book, The Sowers by T.D. Jakes. Yeah.
Sower is a good one.
It's a very
I've read it.
good book. So I've just started reading it. So yeah.
Ah, nice. Oh. Any last words?
I've written down something here, just that I would want to share, and you'll allow me to read it.
Yeah, feel free.
I have something I printed out.
Okay.
But I wanted to start off by saying the CEO in you is not just defined by a title. It is defined by the courage to lead, and as such, everyone on us has the CEO in them to make a change. Yeah.
Wow.
And so my parting words, as I've already mentioned, I'll read something, and still again in the same vein, that first of all, you're the architect of your own story. No one else can tell the story. Your voice, your experiences, and your perspective are invaluable in any way. They have the power to inspire and to impact the world, the community, and the places you are in. So writing is not just about putting words on paper, Richard. It's about owning your truth, sharing your journey, and empowering others through the narrative. When you say you have this show, it is you're not only trying to allow the author speak about their journey, it is allowing yourself to talk to your viewers about what can make them different.
Yeah.
And you have no clue that what turning point you're giving to every single person that watches. So it's very impactful. So what am I saying? This is don't wait for a perfect moment, because that perfect moment is never there, or the right time to begin anything. You start now, and then the journey will be able to be a learning step.
Wow.
So the words that matter in the world is you need to hear your story yourself. The story about Irene was to know about who she was from the time she was born. And so writing is a path of growth, and every step you take in sharing the voice or the story or the experiences is allowing you to become a leader in that space, but also allowing you to be a change maker in someone else's life. And that is, you have to then to practice the stay in resilience, but also stay authentic and keep believing in the power of yourself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, what I see here from this is nothing just happens. You ought to be deliberate, you ought to be intentional, you ought to be calibrated based on what you want to do and then who you will become. Things just don't happen. As we come to the end of this segment, you remember, as the author will always recap a couple of lessons. I will tell some lessons and then I'll ask Irene to also give us the lessons that she sees. There's a part on which is very interesting on in the book on chapter number page 64 of her book, which is in chapter number 3. Chapter number 3, page 64. One of the nuggets that I see here, she says there's unwritten rules the world has for business and then God's principles. One thing I like about this book, the CEO in you, is that at the end of every chapter, there is a scripture reflection. God has been at the center of this book. Scripture is always referenced by Irene. And she says, in order for the world of business to say, achieve results on the opposite side, what does God say? Serve a purpose. What can I get as a question when you're going out as an entrepreneur? She says, how can I give? So instead of asking to get, always be a giver, as God says. Then the third one is work to please people. Then what does God say? Work to please God. But one of the core ones that I like so much is says success equals dollars. That's what the world says in business. Then she says God's principles is significance equals to people. Leadership, as the world says, is being first, and then God says leadership is being last. The other lesson I've learned, this is one lesson wrapped up together. The other lesson I've learned is about the E's, the 6 E's. Wow, those E's rocked my soul to the core. The first of those you said is excitement. What is that thing that sparks your heart, that makes you excited, that you want to do it and keep going and keep doing? What are you passionate about? The second is expectations. And expectations, have you defined your mission statement as a person, or what I call the personal constitution? Those values, where do I want to be as an individual? The third E is exposure. Exposure is what draws out the you so that you can shine that little light, yes, or that big light to the world, and then they can distinguish you from everybody else. The other E is experience, so that you touch. I say why this experience aspect cracks it for me is in my book I coined a frame out of the character's own, OWN. The O stands for operate, the W stands for wield, then the N stands for nuances. As a person in your experiences, what are the things that you are operating on? Your hands, when you put your fingerprints on something, can they distinguish and say that it is you, John or Mary, that did it? How does it distinctly present your value in the marketplace or out there to the world? Then the W says wield. Anything you touch, you sharpen and you become better at it. Then the nuances, when you give 10 bakers, the same ingredients, they all will bake a different cake. So what is your cake? Which comes into the aspect of experience. And the other E was empowerment. How are you leaving your mark, your footprint on this world? How are you going to be remembered? Out of when you're not there in the room, what are people saying? Which comes about integrity, the things, the unsaid things or the said things that people see you as such. Then lastly, exceptional is never live a life of mediocrity. Be excellent in everything that you do. Happen to things, happen to them. Leave your mark in everything that you do, however simple, however small it may be. How are you going to be remembered when you're not in the room? Lesson number 3 for me was the service above self. For me, that one hit so hard. It hit a bullseye in my soul. Service above self. It's not about you. Be selfless. Be selfless. Do it for others. May that be the leadership principle that is driving you to do things and then be who you are. Then the other lesson, which is number 4, is intentional living. Follow your spark. Irene says, follow your bliss. For me, I say, follow your spark and let this spark explode into fireworks. Wherever you are, people will say, you were there. And then lesson, this is number 5, yes. Number 5 is on that trade-offs for family. There's a delicate balance. But there's no job, there's no paycheck, there's no value that is more important than your family. At the end of it all, the older you get, the more regrets we have in life. Yes, when you look back, because as you're growing older, you're looking back with hindsight. What I picked from that is opportunity cost. What's the cost of the opportunities that you're getting? But what is the trade-off? How are you striking that balance? At the end of the day, yes, you need the paycheck. I'm going to get me wrong. We all need the paycheck. At the end of the day, we all need to be impactful, because where there is value, yes, there's some level of influence, to have a better life. But at the end of it all, when you reach that level and you have to make that decision between the value you bring to the world, the paycheck, and the people that you're impacting, make that decision correctly and rightly. I've said 5 lessons. I'll hand over to Irene, and maybe, please, Irene, don't forget my nugget. That one, please say it in your own voice. I've already put my nugget here. That one, please, don't forget it.
I'll start off from your page 64. Those unwritten business rules and God principles speak to the scripture of Matthew 7:33 that says, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and the rest will be added unto you.
Wow.
The moment you know that you have life beyond what you can decide on your own, then nothing is impossible.
Wow.
So on the nuggets, I'll start off with a beautiful nugget that Richard is very passionate about. He says he's picked it and it's in his pockets. I don't know how soon he'll pick it out. But it's about doing things that will speak for you.
Yeah. Wow.
And so every time, even as a man, when you're coaching a girl, coach with integrity, with a spice of saying, when we walk pathways, she will remember this one thing, because your authenticity about yourself.
Wow.
There was nothing like sugarcoating around it. So that's what it means to do things that will speak for you. The other nuggets, of course, will be summarized in a few. One will be leadership starts within you. And so when I say leadership starts within you, it's you do have to have your own self-awareness. You have to have self-discipline, and you need to encourage to confront your own fears. Because Richard, most often what stops us from doing things that we should start now are the fears. I don't have the money. What will they say? I am not capable. I've not gone to school. So those keep building up. So leadership starts within you, and please do your self-awareness, and you'll be able to encounter on that. 2 is everyone has a CEO in you. This, I think we can talk about it all the time. The beautiful job that your team are doing here is something showing that they have the CEO in them to ensure that they can come and be able to capture this moment for every after viewer to see. So when you lead with a purpose, you have impact or flows in everything that you do. And so purpose will fuel progress.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Everything that you do when you have purpose to yourself, you will definitely fuel a lot of progress. Wow. Not only for you, but for everyone around you and everything else that comes your way. The other one is I've learned lesson to say that change is intentional.
Wow. Yes.
Change is intentional. Yeah. And I'll share a very dear experience. I have a brother who is an addict. He's alcohol addict. And the only thing I've tried to talk to him is your change from being an addict should be intentional. It should start with you. It has nothing with the stress that you went through of either losing. There's so much integrity he had and company and everything dropped in one day something you built for years and drops, you know. So change is really within you, and it has to be intentional. So you have to work around it. You have to do things that will bring that change in you.
Wow.
And I've used that example because the world today is facing with so much stress levels. Yeah. And everyone thinks that life has stopped today because I've lost X, Y, Z, but not at all. It is actually at that time when you're torn, everything is shattered, that you're going to be intentional to put them together and get to multiple of what you have actually lost.
Being a pastor, allow me just add on that. Being a pastor, I can't forget to say this. Even scripture tells us God loves broken vessels. Yeah, it's the broken vessels that God mends. Yeah, so that he is able to bring the beauty out of everything. If you look at the story of Job, the pain the man went through in one day, everything, he loses everything. His entire family, all the wealth, gone in one single day like this. The only person he stays with is his wife. Of course, he couldn't lose himself. The wife is him. They are one rib of my rib. So that is the only part of himself he kept, the wife. But Job did not wane in his faith with God. And all through this, when he came out, scripture tells us he had 4 times much more wealth than he even had before he did. So in those places, in those dark corners where there's pain, there's always purpose. Where there's pain, there's always purpose. Always look through that storm, because wherever there's a storm, there's always a silver lining. The sunshine comes right after the storm has come. So I just thought I could just add on that. There are many people out there hurting, many people who have gone through painful experiences, and the message is, please don't give up. Don't just give up. There's hope tomorrow. When you look at all the great people, and I researched many, 100 people world over, right at the center of their stories was always pain. Not many people knew Napoleon Bonaparte was an epileptic. Not many people knew he had those challenges. Not many people knew that Isaac Newton, the inventor, discoverer of calculus and the laws of motion and discoverer of gravity, at one time was in a mental asylum. Actually, it is said when he discovered gravity, he saw an apple fall off a tree when he was in a mental asylum. So he had all the pain moments, yes, but he always had the beauty. Not many people know Albert Einstein, the Nobel winner as well for physics, was considered a laggard. He didn't speak until he was 4 years. People thought he would never amount to something. His first words he ever spoke was, "Mom, the soup is hot." So they asked him why he was not speaking all this time, and he said there was no reason for me to speak. All he was doing was observation. When you look at Maya Angelou, the great poet and writer, her face a couple of months back was put on the American currency, the quarter. She was raped when she was 5 years old, and she went mute. She couldn't speak because she saw the person who victimized her being hanged. So she thought maybe as a child, because I spoke out, it is my fault that someone has lost a life. So she went mute and couldn't speak for a long time. So if you look at the people who've done great things, there's always a pain point in them. Even Christ himself went through pain, but look, he brought salvation to us, and we now free and liberated. So all those great men and women that you see out there, and true story you see out there, when you see on the flip side, it's not shimmer and shine. There's pain, there's brokenness, there is agony, but they rose through those issues. And by the way, it is those pain moments that constructed them and defined them to be authentic as they truly are. I thought I would add on that. Sorry to interject.
Fantastic. Change, you couldn't have said it better with all those examples that you mentioned. And the reason I brought out that example is because people believe change is not possible. People believe change is something that is, just out of this world. But change is very intentional, and then you have to deliberate on the choices that you want to make, and then you build drive of positive impact. So the other lesson really is empowerment is a ripple effect. So when empowered, see how you uplift others. On empowerment, that's why I talk about blossom where you planted. how do you uplift others when you're at the level of being an influence and be empowered? So to me, that is also a lesson that we need to pick in this world so that we can be of creating broader wave of transformation.
Wow.
The last one is resilience is non-negotiable. Yeah. Resilience is something that for you to be of great impact, you have to be resilient within you, because you're doing a lot of sacrifice. You're going through stages of undoubtedly clear to you, but that resilience will actually push you to achieving what you want to do. So resilience is non-negotiable. Your journey should be focused on either your faith, the faith that you have, or the vision that is aspiring you to be someone of impact. So yeah, Richard, thank you so much for the time, allowing me to summarize the book into so many different experience, but also nuggets and lessons. And I'm hoping that you touch souls when they view this episode.
Wow.
That they will be able to understand that your purpose is actually very intentional.
Wow, thank you. Where do they get the book? Someone has seen the book, they want to get a copy. Where do they
The
get
book
it?
is it's in all the bookshops in Kampala, and we also have it on Amazon. And so it is a friendly, easy read, and and affordable as well.
How much is it?
We have the paper, just this format is I think 80, but for schools, when we go for schools activation, we give it to them at 50.
Okay.
And then the other one of hard copy goes for 150.
150.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. What an honor to have you, Irene. Thank you for telling us your story and having a very exciting and insightful discussion. I know our audience has liked and will pick those nuggets from what you have shared. It's been a great pleasure. Please keep shining the light.
Do
Impact.
things that speak for you.
Yes, that one. Do things that speak for you. That even when you're not there, they will say, Richard was here. It's been an honor. Please like, share this video. Anyone out there, someone may be blessed and impacted by it. It may just be that one thing they've been waiting to see or hear, and I believe it is going to impact many. Subscribe, like, and share, comment. Until we meet again, I'm Richard Mugisha, your host on Ask the Author. Bye-bye, and God mightily bless you.